Connecting to the internet. Internet. Networking software.
World Wide Web thing on a computer today. Computer.
NetSurfer Pro.
What you are about to hear is a real tale.
A real story.
About two podcasters who found a haunted
Box
of
pizza
rolls
and
GameCube games.
one
Day,
these
two
podcasters
went
to
Schnooks,
which
was
a
closed
grocery
store
chain
in
St.
Louis.
I'm sorry, well, they needed context. People could be listening that have never heard of Schnooks.
You know, that's true. I don't know if Schnooks is a local chain.
It is.
Oh,
Schnooks
yeah.
and Dierbergs are two local chains owned by warring families who both met a terrible end once their GameCube games got stolen.
Ooh. Okay. Okay, I like the one-word intro. Let's go to one sentence now.
Okay.
Right. The two podcasters went to the pizza aisle hoping to score some cool pizza rolls.
In the pizza aisle, they found an old man who gave them a box of pizza rolls, as well as a blank copy of a GameCube game.
The old man looked just like a normal worker, except that he had dark, sunken eyes, and his name tag read No One.
One of the podcasters said, "Is your name Noonie? Is that, I'm sorry, I don't want to be rude, but I don't know how to address you. Is it Noonie or Noon? Is it Noon?"
But as the podcasters looked away, looked at each other out of confusion over this person's name, and looked back, he was gone.
And in his place was an entire Nintendo GameCube.
This was pretty good, because not only did these podcasters not have a Nintendo GameCube, they also did not actually have a Nintendo Wii, which is backwards compatible with the Nintendo GameCube.
Behind where the old man once stood, which was now a Nintendo GameCube, was also a TV plugged into the wall, as well as an AV cable for the Nintendo GameCube, and the power cord for the Nintendo GameCube. And, get this, the GBA adapter for the Nintendo GameCube.
This was cool, because one of the podcasters actually brought his own copy of Bionicle for the Game Boy Advanced. But they didn't play that, actually. They were more curious about the GameCube game first.
So they put the GameCube game in the GameCube and turned on the power.
The game opened up just like you would expect the normal game Custom Robo for the GameCube to open up.
Except when the player saw the character that looked like Hatsune Miku, the character that looked like Hatsune Miku was dead.
You could tell this because she had X's over her eyes, and her skin was hyper-realistic for Hatsune Miku, which is like, you know, slightly minor realistic. Like PS2 era graphics, which is fitting because this was the GameCube, I guess.
And then one of them looked at the other and said, "Isn't it weird that the GameCube has PS2 graphics when Nintendo has historically had worse graphics than their competitors?"
But they didn't think anything of it at this time, figuring maybe this was just, you know, a pretty good-looking GameCube game.
As they progressed further, the character in Custom Robo for the Nintendo GameCube that was dressed in full camo gear kept saying something about a guy named Timothy.
This was strange, as neither of these podcasters were named Timothy.
Nor did they know any Timothys.
So they decided, actually, hang on, you know, maybe we should, like, take this back home, actually. You know, we are playing this in the middle of a Schnooks.
They decided to leave the Schnooks with the GameCube in hand.
And also the TV and the adapter and the power outlet, just for clarity.
However, they forgot the pizza rolls. That's the end of our scary story.
Yes, I hope you weren't too spooked out by that opening.
Yes, we of course are in Net Spooky Pro.
Which is we don't have a good, like, spooky intro sting.
That's what you think.
Oh my god.
With the power of post-editing, I can spend about 5 minutes putting a theremin sound behind our regular intro.
A whirlwind wire.
A whirlwind wide
A whirlwind wide through the worldwide web.
of spiders.
I am your co-host, Galen, and with me in person is...
Of course, your main host, Matt, and with me is the giant spider Shoggoth from Lord of the Rings. Is that her name?
Yeah, Shoggoth, sure.
Sure. Spider Queen Queelag.
So, it's really nice to have you here, Spider Queen Queelag / the spider from Lord of the Rings. Oh, wow, that's weird that spiders sound like that.
Yeah, I've never heard a spider talk before, but if I did, I'm sure they would sound just like that. Specifically the spiders that also have that top half of a human.
This is actually really good because one of the people who listens to our podcast regularly is a good friend of mine who really likes both Lord of the Rings and Dark Souls. So it's very good to know that he will be upset with me before we even start this episode.
Yes, we are of course talking about that giant spider that lives in your doorway.
Yes, Egbert.
Egbert? Good name. I hope nothing bad happens to that house.
Yeah, I hope nothing bad happens to Egbert. He is my dear friend. I would hate to learn that anything bad happened to him. I'm getting a text from my friend now that says that Egbert actually died like a couple weeks ago.
Egbert died upon entering the medium.
We did have a funeral for him, don't worry. Today's episode, as you can tell, is more spooky themed.
Yes.
We are in our spooky month. We are a couple weeks into our spooky month. Apologies for that.
Yeah. We had a bit of a hiatus, and now we have a hello-atus. As in, say hello, us. Hello at it, get it? It's like saying hi at us, but you know. Yeah, so it's spooky season now. After the hiatus, we have come back from the dead zombie style, which is how I like my burgers, and we are going to talk about some spooky stuff.
Yeah. Now, you might be asking, so like, skeletons and ghosts and, things like that. Well, no, we're talking about something more spooky than that.
The skeletons and ghosts are for next year when we cover Undertale.
Yes. But this year, our topic is... antiquated technology.
Well, also creepypasta.
Oh, yes.
The spooky food. I think we really need to talk about creepypasta before we get into our main topic here, because it's kind of central to our main topic.
Yes. Okay.
And sort of the rest of the month as well.
Honestly, yeah. I feel like the way that creepypasta has evolved is extremely relevant to... like, obviously today, like, this topic is very directly related to that, but also sort of like how it evolved into the, theory / ARG-esque format is also very important.
So, creepypasta comes from the word copypasta, which comes from the word copy-paste. A copypasta is like a block of text or, a phrase, a paragraph, something like that can be repeatedly copy and pasted throughout the internet. Nowadays, you usually see this with streaming services like Twitch. People will have copy pastas that are like these elaborate, like some of them are paragraphs that are just jokes. Some of them, people will post like song lyrics. A lot of times you'll see it with people rooting for their favorite players and, video games and stuff like that. Stuff like, spam this, I'm trying to think of one of the good ones. Spam this pizza that helps Axe's Pika, for example. People would post, like, pizza emojis. Anyways, the idea is that it's something that can be... It's unique to the internet's ability to copy and paste text instantly.
Yeah, like, if you've ever been hanging out with your friends and you're just, like, quoting vines at each other, it's a very similar vibe to that, except that the ability to copy paste means that you can have just massive walls of text as them. If you've ever heard or if you've ever seen the what the fuck did you just fucking say about me, you little bitch, copy pasta, the Navy SEALs copy pasta, you understand why it's like something kind of specific to the internet.
Yeah, stuff like that, or actually you have to have a very high IQ to understand Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Those are blocks of text people don't really read. so much as they know what's inside it already.
Yeah.
Like, you read it once and you're good, but they're so big that, like, kind of the point of it is that it's a large amount of information you convey with just Control-V.
Yeah.
Now, creepypasta isn't necessarily that, but it kind of had its origins in that. The term, I think, mainly started on 4chan.
Yeah.
Sort of the, like, X board.
Yeah, the X is the paranormal board and is where, honestly, a whole lot of, like, early internet stories kind of began.
Right. SCP started there. I'm pretty sure, like, a lot of the, like, urban legend type stuff, like Slenderman, had its roots there.
I think Slenderman was something awful.
Oh, really?
I believe it was.
Oh, it's the other place where early internet stuff comes from.
Yeah, it's either
The other
4chan,
Crucible.
4chan or something awful.
Yeah. So creepypasta, it started out as, like, horror-based copypasta. Like a spooky story you tell around a campfire. Just with sort of a online edge to it. An information age edge. Now, the term creepypasta has kind of evolved to mean any digital internet-based scary story, which oftentimes ends up being more, like, novella-length fiction to some extent. Stuff that isn't really meant to be copy and pasted as if it were your own statements, but, like, you link to a existing posting of it. Maybe it's easier to share because you could copy and paste it, but whereas copypasta, like the Navy SEAL one, you kind of post it with the joke is that you're acting like you're the one saying it, or acting like you mean it. Copypasta, you don't really do that. Creepypasta, you don't really do that, yes. Now, there are kind of a lot of well-known creepypastas that are known because of, like, a character in it. There's kind of a whole canon of creepypasta online. Some of it isn't video game focused. Some of it is.
Yeah.
A lot of it is.
A lot of it is, but I mean, I like Jeff the Killer, I believe, is not tied to any video game, but it's one of the most popular ones.
Yeah. Candle Cove is another one I've heard a lot of and about. Like most SCP type stuff is creepypasta, even though you don't copy what's on the SCP wiki. It's just that it is a online text-based horror fiction.
Yeah.
Which is sort of what creepypasta is. So video games are a pretty common topic in creepypasta. I think that's partially just because of the kind of demographics of people who would do this type of thing. Are people who like video games.
Yeah.
There's also an element of, like, kind of like what we talked about last episode, I almost said last week, with, like, people wanting to find secrets in video games, is what if not only there was a secret, like, clue or puzzle that people didn't know about, what if there was a deadly secret in the video game? There's stuff like Lavender Town, or the Lavender Town Syndrome, the Lavender Town Creepypasta, which was kind of based off the idea that there was an original version of the Lavender Town music from Pokemon Red and Blue, but, like, creepier, and, like, caused bad effects in people that listened to it. And so it's similar to Mew being under the truck in that it is a postulation of there being more to explore in Pokemon, but instead of it being for mechanical purposes, it's like a backstory, or like an urban legend.
Yeah. One of the best and probably my favorite is also Pokemon. Pokemon is very rife and very, like, good fertile ground for creepypastas. I think one of the best creepypastas is Pokemon Black, which is what would become the typical creepypasta opening, thanks to no small part because of our topic today.
Yeah. Pokemon Black's when they go to New York, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty scary.
They go to New York and it's like, there's all these people saying bada bing. Yes, Pokemon Black is a real video game, but the original creepypasta of Pokemon Black is a all-black cartridge of, like, Pokemon Red and Blue, except that there's a fourth option for a Pokemon, which is a ghost. And within the fiction of this, it is, like, the ghost Pokemon. It's one of the things that can come up with Missing No. one of the non-used sprites. And the idea is that the ghost actually has, like, only one move, which, like, kills the Pokemon. And then after you defeat the trainer, you can actually use that move to kill the trainer. But, you know, you go through the whole game, and if you kill everyone, then, like, it cuts to, you know, a secret ending where your trainer, you know, is, like, wandering the world at half speed and then finally comes up to the ghost. And the reason that I really like this one is that it is stylized and told, and within the fiction of it, entirely just a cartridge. Just a ROM hack that someone made to creep out a kid. And I like that. I like that there isn't a supernatural element with that specific story. It's just, you know, I went to this garage and I bought this weird cartridge, and the guy was like, yeah, I don't know, go ahead and have it. And, you know, so I played this, and it was a weird ROM hack. I wonder why that someone would make this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, just a correction. The ghost is actually a used sprite, but only the front sprite of it, because it is what you see when you go into the, like, tower, the Pokemon Tower.
Oh, yeah.
In Lavender Town when you don't have the Sylph Scope.
Yeah. It's the Marowak ghost, right?
I think that's more of a theory, because it becomes a Ghastly when you have the Sylph Scope.
Right.
Or that's, like, where you catch Ghastly, and that's part of the Marowak theory, because Marowak has a dead mom, and, you know, theory time. But yeah, that's sort of a great example of just the kind of the kind of the platonic ideal of a creepypasta.
Yeah.
And I think that, like you said, it's very similar to some of the stuff in what we're talking about, because it was one of the most influential ones alongside what we're talking about today, which I feel like we can go ahead and introduce.
Yeah, so Ben Drowned. Ben Drowned is a creepypasta, or was a creepypasta, I should say, that was released on 4chan's X-board during a period that we know, 2010, September, like about a week in September 2010.
Yeah.
And it is the creepypasta is definitely the most famous part of Ben Drowned. Even if you don't know the specifics of Ben Drowned, it's very likely that you have come across it. You know the elegy statue. You know you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, the reverse song of healing, the happy mask salesman, kind of just everything.
Yeah, and so Ben Drowned is probably, like, alongside Pokemon Black, the most influential creepypasta, and it's really fucking good.
Yeah, I think the thing I realized is that it sets the tone, and, like, it has a lot of things that are now cliches in creepypasta, but at the same time it does them well enough, like, better than a lot of the things that are inspired by it.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of attention paid to details that are just, again, surprising to me that it was this concrete. And so, of course, it started as a creepypasta. There's a lot more to go into afterwards, but I feel like we should start with the creepypasta part of it.
Yeah. Okay. The creepypasta begins, as it were, as a post on X. And the story is of a college-age student who goes by the moniker Jaduceable. Jadusable.
It's like his username.
Yeah. That's the YouTube channel that you'll find everything Ben Drowned related on. And so he tells this story of, a friend gave him a Nintendo 64 to play with in college, and he was sort of going around one day at garage sales, looking for stuff to buy, and he came across an old man that was, selling a bunch of weird stuff, like blind in one eye, kind of a weird personality. But he, went through it, and he noticed, if I remember correctly, one of the things that he was selling was a cartridge that just said Majora on it in black Sharpie. And he asks the man, oh, hey, what's that? And the man, if I remember correctly, says, oh, that used to belong to Ben. He was a kid in the neighborhood. And I don't think he explains what it is. Like, I don't think he explains anything more about the kid or anything.
Yeah.
But, Juducible takes it, I think is given it for free, and he comes home, noting that the man seemed to refer to him as Ben as he left, but, no need to worry about that. Probably just an old man having a senior moment. So he gets home, and he boots up the save file, and he, sees a save that it's named Ben. Oh, cool. It was actually really close. It's kind of a shame that the kid never finished it. But he starts a new one. He starts a new save under it, names it Link, and just continues to play the game. But one of the interesting things that keeps happening is that people keep referring to Link as Ben, which is, strange.
Yeah. I mean, they refer to Link as whatever the name on the save file is, but it's the other save file.
Yeah. And the Juducible gets a little bit tired of this weird glitch, and so eventually he just kind of deletes the save file, this save file of Ben. But this seems to cause worse glitches where, people would not refer to him as anything. And, people, NPCs would kind of start being a little weird. He still doesn't pay a whole lot of mind to it, but then he does the fourth day glitch. And this is sort of the catalyst.
Yeah. So the fourth day glitch in Majora's Mask is when you look into the telescope in the astronomer's tower right before the moon would crash into the game, or into the world, causing the time loop to reset. We're assuming you know what Majora's Mask is.
Yeah.
Because that'd take too long to explain. But the glitch is specifically looking in the telescope at that point. The timer that normally counts down is no longer there when you leave the telescope, and you're kind of free to tie up loose ends as long as you want.
And so he performs the fourth day glitch, but weird shit starts happening, of course. When he pressed B to exit the telescope, he wasn't in the room anymore. He was actually at the Majora boss fight with the Skull Kid. And, there was no music. There's, he wasn't there, obviously. Skull Kid seems to follow him. And then a text pops up that says, "You're not sure why, but you apparently had a reservation." And if I remember correctly, he taps yes, or he's forced to press yes. And there's this weird dawn of a new day that happens, and he just sort of finds himself in a really broken version of Clocktown.
Right. There's no NPCs. None of the doors seem to work. There's just nothing except the music playing, which is the Song of Healing played in reverse.
This would colloquially become known as the Song of Unhealing within the community, which is very utilitarian. I love it.
Yeah. He also starts to hear laughing from the Happy Mask Salesman, the enigmatic NPC that kind of kicks off the events of the game.
And so, past the text posts, Juducible begins uploading the things that are happening to his YouTube channel, to sort of prove it. One little neat detail that I remember is that he includes a line that's I've never seen I've never seen it come out this crisp, basically, as a sort of in-universe justification for why Alex Hall, the creator of this creepypasta, had to film this with an emulator.
Yeah. Something really weird that I just have to bring up, because this is rarely mentioned again, is that while he's going through this messed up clock town, he can't leave the town for one thing. But he decides that to escape, he is going to try and drown himself in the laundry pool, which is a part of Clocktown. I don't even think you can normally step into the pool.
I want to say probably you can glitch yourself into the pool, because he talks about it as though it's a semi-known thing, I want to say.
I mean, the pool itself is a known thing, of course. You have to go there for a few quests.
But the weirdness starts ramping up, and it seems like Skull Kid and I think the Masked Salesman as well are like toying with him, basically. Based like between there's various weird, creepy things that happen that you can find the videos of, including like, Link's upper half being 90 degrees and randomly being set on fire and playing a dying animation to transition him to new rooms, stuff like that. The constant referral to him as Ben, or the constant referring to something as Ben. It is all very creepy, and it is all very like the game is doing things just sort of like weirdly and for some purpose, almost seemingly.
Yeah. Probably the most famous thing also that happens is that the Elegy of Emptiness statue appears and starts chasing him. Now, the Elegy of Emptiness is really creepy in the game itself.
Yeah.
It causes a statue to appear that's like a twisted, weird version of whatever form Link is currently in. And the version that follows him around is the like human Link form version of the Elegy of Emptiness statue. Has this horrible grin on its face.
Yeah. The honestly, yeah. So to get into the criticism, and I use that term in like the not to criticize, but like to talk about the creepypasta in general.
Yeah.
One of the best things about the creepypasta is how it uses Majora's Mask, which is already like a creepy game that has a lot of unsettling themes, and like it contextualizes it in more. It uses the already creepy aspects, but it like twists them into really interesting means of telling this story.
Yeah, so Majora's Mask is kind of unique among Zelda games because of how dark it is. I think really the only game in the series that comes close to its sort of tone is probably Twilight Princess. It is just like, it is a game where people know they are going to die, and what's the word? Like, it looks into that sort of theme. It talks about that theme.
Yeah.
Of like, what do these NPCs want to do knowing they'll die in 3 days? It's also just, there's a lot of creepy stuff in it. Like the Elegy of Emptiness statue is kind of the obvious one, but there's also like the like graveyard you go to. There's the stone tower, which is kind of cool, but kind of weird.
Yeah, I think the music for the Stone Tower is used later in the series because it's like one of the iconic, really creepy tracks.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of like implication horror of like one of the more famous ones is that the young girl Malin, I think, she's extremely young, and her sister gives her alcohol before the moon hits.
Oh yeah.
To try and make it less painful.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. Or like the most beautiful quest in any Zelda game, which is where you reunite two lovers and like the 5 minutes before the moon hits.
Yeah.
And they just, spend that time together, and it's terrifyingly
also,
sad.
What's probably the most notable about that too, well, not most notable, but what's interesting is that you can't do that and any other quest line.
Yeah.
So, like, if you want to save as many people as possible or do as many side quests in one loop, you can't do their quest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very interesting game. There's been a lot of writing already on the game itself and sort of what it inspects and sort of interrogates. But yeah, this repurposes it in a lot of ways. Even like the text in the game, as far as that's displayed in the videos and the playthrough, is like text in the game already.
Yeah.
You seem to have a reservation. You shouldn't have done that. You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you? Those are like these like arc words that are just lines of dialogue from the game.
Yeah. So to skip forward in the creepypasta to sort of the stinger. The stinger of the creepypasta is what happens very much at the end, So Deducible has been consistently posting things on X, and at the final day of the arc of the Creepypasta, he posts a Mediafire link. And the Mediafire link is basically his diary. Throughout all of the posts on 4chan, he consistently has been talking about how he, just sort of feels worse and more isolated and more depressed. And so the Mediafire link is presented as though it's from his roommates, I believe.
Yeah, his roommate is posting what he found on Jedusable's computer.
Yeah.
Or Jedusable left him that stuff.
Notable is that the roommate was given a couple of videos to post, and one of them he says that he cut some of the stuff at the beginning.
Yeah.
And another video I believe doesn't even get posted.
Right, there are 2 summaries for videos, because what Jedusable does is he writes a summary for each video in the diary of this is what I was doing while I was playing it. And then there's some summaries that don't have videos. Also, in the diary, he mentions that he's never felt more alone because he lives in a single-person dorm.
Yeah.
He's like, I should have gone a regular dorm, not a single.
Yeah. But in the diary, the entity that is known as Ben, all caps, it begins toying with him outside of the game. And the implication here is, one, haunted, but also 2, that Ben is a technological entity that managed to travel through his literal power lines and is basically toying with him because it's fun.
Yeah. Ben starts posting on Cleverbot, which is a chat AI that I don't know if it's still active, but you could talk to it and it would learn from people. Sort of one of the earlier open source machine learning type things, which are kind of everywhere nowadays.
Yeah.
There was a period where you would go there and you'd be like, are you Ben? And because so many people asked if it's Ben, it would go into the Ben character.
Yeah.
Not because it was actually connected to the creepypasta, just because so many people kept doing the creepypasta bits.
So the Deducible just sort of consistently kind of keeps going on this downward spiral. One of the children.wmv is shown as a video that he supposedly posted. And he notes in the diary that my stuff keeps getting messed with. I think Ben is messing with my summaries and stuff. I don't even remember posting one of these videos. And at the very end of the Mediafire link, at the very end of this text document, in fact, he says basically whatever Ben, if you are reading this, whatever Ben tries to do, don't download anything from Ben.
Yeah.
Because that is how Ben spreads.
Yeah.
And then 108 minutes later, free.wmv is posted onto the YouTube channel, and it's Ben thanking people for downloading the text documents.
Yep.
Ooh!
So that's the creepypasta, also known as Arc 1.
Yeah.
It's sort of a creepypasta. It really does go above and beyond other creepypasta at the time by providing gameplay videos.
Yeah.
It's honestly really respectable how he was able to achieve the effects he got from the gameplay recordings. A lot of it is just hacking and using Game Shark codes and stuff, but it's a really cool example of using those for the purpose of theatrics, sort of in a machinima style.
Yeah.
Of using gameplay to tell a story, using the NPCs as actors in that regard.
It is. I think that I think that Ben Drowned and Pokemon Black are the extreme ends of really good creepypasta, where Pokemon Black is 100% just here's a creepy thing in a game, but there's no other elements to it. There's no meta elements to it necessarily. And Ben Drowned is full meta of this is a haunted cartridge with a thing that wants something from me.
Yeah. So I have a list of creepypasta cliches that are present in this.
Yes.
There's the haunted game. That's the staple. There's the old man flea market origin, which is that the person who presented the game does not know the significance of it, probably has not played a video game, seems to have a connection to it but doesn't say, and disappears once the game has been received. It's not necessarily only an old man or a garage sale or flea market, but that's sort of the general presence, is that the origin cannot be traced. Usually it's an old person because of the sort of senile aspect.
Yeah.
They can't remember where they got it, that sort of thing. In this case, he does remember. He got it from a kid named Ben. It starts off similar to the original, but there is one thing that's different, which is the clue that something is different. In this case, it's that they keep calling him Ben. It plays off knowledge of the original. The reader is expected to know Majora's Mask pretty heavily. Things like the fourth day glitch aren't explained in the document.
Yeah. I think he like mentions the fourth day glitch and then literally says like, if you don't know the fourth day glitch, just Google it.
Yeah. It starts adding creepy imagery with like backward music or weird things appearing. The narrator has a Borgesian obsession with it. He cannot stop thinking about it. Their like mental state gets altered by the thing. Now, there's two things I want to point out that I think are really interesting this does, which are still kind of twists from what most creepypastas do. One thing is that other people know the old man and they know Ben. So, like, he goes back to the neighborhood and the man has moved out, but he talks to other neighbors and he's like, have you heard of Ben? And that's when he learns that Ben was a kid whose, like, parents died in an accident.
Yeah.
Like, other people know who Ben is. It's not just this mysterious, like, oh, that man moved to here. He hasn't lived here for 100 years.
Yeah, it's not that bathroom hasn't been open for 40 years.
Yeah, there's actually, like, a trail of people that know it. Also, even though the game has things that aren't in the correct spots, there's no mention of, like, realism or things that are outside the Nintendo 64's capabilities. This is kind of the meme for creepypastas, is, like, the hyper-realistic blood.
Yeah, the fucking, 0BL1V10N.exe that makes the fucking spider septum come alive and kill a man's friend.
Yeah, it's like there isn't really like things that wouldn't be on the Nintendo 64. It is for the most, I don't think there is. There might be, and I might be forgetting. But yeah, it's not like Sonic EXE where he has blood in his eyes. And it's like, hyper-realistic blood. It's more realistic than the Genesis. So what could this mean?
Yeah.
It has an element of believability that you could picture the things happening.
Yeah. These are things that could realistically be made into a cartridge. I can't wait to... I really would love for somebody to have, like, made a ROM hack cartridge with normal Majora's Mask and put it into the wild.
I do have to wonder if people have made a Ben ROM hack that just does the events.
Yeah, people have made a Pokemon Black ROM hack. So
yeah.
Yeah,
so... Yeah, it does a lot of things pretty well. I think it also... There's an interesting element of, like... I think the kind of general horror trope of people keep looking into something when they shouldn't. You know what I mean? Like, there's oh, don't open the shed. Why would you open the shed? You know that there's a killer loose. Why would you open the shed? Or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where, like, it seems obvious when you're watching it that they're doing a dumb decision. Why would you keep playing the game if it was acting like this? But I think there is a little bit of justification, on the fact that this is somebody who is in college and has nothing better to do. They, like, don't have anybody to play other games with except, like, one friend who doesn't go to that school. And then, of course, there's the fact that this is somebody who posts on the internet. They would be interested in cataloging this anyways. I think generally, though, it's like, you don't need a justification for those things, but it is kind of nice that it's there.
Yeah, I think this is... I think this is one of, like, the reason that this is such the archetypical... the reason that these are all, like, tropes is basically because this just, like, was such a wonderful, like, really well done creepypasta. And that's the whole episode. Wow, this is one of our shorter episodes. There was nothing else Ben Drown related.
Damn.
So thank you very much for listening. I've been oh, hang on, what's that? Hey, okay, so my lawyer has just informed me that there was actually an entire ARG after this.
Yeah, you thought we were done with ARGs in the last episode where I said that we'd talk about them in the next episode? Well, this is the next episode that's next to the last episode.
And that means there's an entire ARG right now. So, one of the most interesting things about Ben Drowned is that a lot of people, I think, know or have a general knowledge of the Haunted Cartridge arc, but there is a surprising amount of people who don't realize that there is an entire ARG immediately after that.
Yeah, it's interesting because like the original is such a good self-contained story. It has the horror ending of this could be real. It doesn't really need to explore further, but I mean, let's just go into it.
Yeah. So okay. So two interesting aspects on the Deducible YouTube channel is there were 2 videos before any of the other ones. One of them was prototype all kills, warning very graphic.
Which is exactly what it says on the tin.
Yeah, there's a video game named Prototype. You can consume people for information. And so it's just, all consume kills, warning very graphic.
Mm-hmm.
The other really interesting thing is Rosa from Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Now, what is Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines? I'm very glad that I have asked this question. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines is a wonderful video game that everybody should play. It is a flawed masterpiece, which is to say it's extremely flawed, but it's also very good. But
I can see the YouTube thumbnail now.
Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines is a beautiful masterpiece, and here's why, by fucking Joseph Anderson. But there's a character named Rosa who's a Malkavian, and in Vampire Universe that means she's like, I don't think she's a Malkavian. She's like a seer.
She's like an oracle.
Yeah. She's your sort of standard Hollywood like seer who can't parse all the information but knows more than everyone, but is kind of written off as crazy because she says a bunch of weird shit that doesn't make any sense. And she talks about basically the ending of the game.
What is it, Cassandra? You're Cassandra, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And she more or less talks about like the ending of the game and your purpose in the ending, and stuff like that. And it's just sort of a video of talking to her. But the interesting thing is that this is used to convey information in the ARG, in that the terms that she uses for certain characters, like the father and like I think she says like the knight or something like that, kind of like directly correlates to characters that then pop up within the ARG. And so a lot of early information was basically decoding the Rosas video and then applying it to the Deducible videos.
What's worth noting is these were uploaded before the Deducible videos.
Yeah.
Like, these were just on the YouTube channel before the Creepypasta was around. So yeah, alongside the Rosa stuff, people found that the YouTube channel started posting updates with these like codes, which led them to a website called You Shouldn't Have Done That. And this website is where the ARG begins.
Yes, so this website is a forum for what seems to be a cult called the Moon Children, and has multiple tabs about, it has a whole lot of tabs. It's very like web 1.5 kind of era of it's a basic forum.
Yeah.
But it has their creed and like what about them, contact us, and then it has a forum. And the forum has users that are posting about various bullshit. So users include like a moderator known as Ifrit, a moderator known as Neko, a member named like Duskworld, a member named, I can't remember his name.
Those are sort of the 3 made ones.
Yeah.
And then there's Drowned, who's the administrator. And Drowned doesn't really post much, But their like profile page had references to like, you shouldn't be reading this.
Yeah.
And then it had the elegy.
I believe, in fact, like one of the big things that keys sort of users into the significance is that he posts a message that seems to be directed directly to people reading it, because it's not even recognized in the fiction, I think, or commented upon by the other Moon Children, that says you shouldn't be reading this. And if you mouse over his avatar, it changes to the Elegy of Emptiness.
Yeah, exactly. I want to note that the avatar images for all the users fall into either characters with masks or like pictures of space. But the two characters with masks are Ifrit and Duskworld. Ifrit has a picture of MF Doom, who is the rapper that wears a mask, like a Doom mask, Dr. Doom.
Yeah.
And Duskworld's avatar is like a space marine with like a Bane mask type thing.
Yeah.
Or like Darth Vader's without his helmet, that sort of deal. And so just remember that masks are sort of a recurring theme, a recurring motif.
Yeah. Some of the interesting things is that with the like at the end of the URL there are hidden pages where like if you manually type in certain characters, you can actually find different pages that have various stuff. So like Ben's page was the first to be found. It had a countdown. Ben's page was the first to be found. It had a countdown to what it called the 4th day, which was set to end sometime pretty soon when it was found. And there was music playing that was the reversed Happy Mask Salesman theme from Ben.wmv.
I wanted to mention that the Moon Children, the whole reason they're called the Moon Children, I don't think we mentioned that, is that they are predicting the end of the world when the moon is going to crash into the earth.
Yeah.
And this was predicted by one of the first Moon Children, Kelbris. Kelbris had these like visions of the moon hitting the earth.
Yeah,
Also,
by their god named Luna.
Yes.
A little bit, obviously.
Also, they keep talking about ascension. They mention that Kelbris was one of the first to ascend, and they're talking to the user Neko about their ascension, and one of them comments that Neko's ascension is the first one without incident. So that's weird. What incident could that be?
Yeah, strange. There's also a recurring motif about eyes. Drown's page is a ciphered thing that says, they took my eyes. So that's weird. But they now, okay, here is, I think, my first point of negative criticism. So one of the more infamous things about this page is that one of the characters basically was like, tomorrow, I don't care about Ascension, like, or not, I won't care about Ascension tomorrow, but he was like, no, I'm tired of waiting for Ascension. Tomorrow I'm gonna go shoot up my school. And
Wait,
like,
really?
yes.
I did not know that was a thing. Holy shit.
And another character is basically like, yo, I'll join you. That sounds like a great time. And, so...
Oh, right.
Yeah, so this is in fiction. Mm-hmm. And, I will say that, this isn't necessarily, like... I don't think it is disrespectful to any individual family or anything to like have that kind of fucked up thing. Like it is a fucked up thing for the characters to do, but like it certainly, don't worry, later there will certainly be moments where like the story literally had to have certain beats go on pause because they were a little too close to home.
Yeah.
But like that is not the criticism that I'm making. It's more that like this was very early web. This was like 2012, I think, where like those sorts of things certainly couldn't it was much easier to not realize something was fiction.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, there were legitimate police called on because of this.
Yeah.
And so, like, I understand that... I think that it's an interesting situation to think about with metafiction because, like... I don't want to say there aren't things you shouldn't make fiction about. I don't think that's true. Like, this is a fucked up cult. Within the fiction of this, I think it is fair to, like, have them be doing fucked up things.
And it's to sort of compare them as, like, characters who would fall for this cult would do this as well.
Yeah.
Sort of a Columbine, Bowling for Columbine sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it does also present a sort of issue that, you have to think about when you talk about metafiction, where it's like, you want to make it obvious enough that this is something fake, but the sort of genre necessitates that you take it seriously in fiction.
Yeah. You can't just have, like, a banner at the top that says, this is fake, because that kind of insults the players of the ARG.
Yeah.
Like, they know it. Like, the people who go here from the whole Ben Drown creepypasta know that this is fake, or at least they should.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, somebody might run into this and be like, oh no, this is serious. Or somebody might think it's a real cult. We still don't know about the Kanye Quest thing.
Yeah.
Remember Kanye Quest?
God,
That
I
may or
fucking
may not
forgot
be connected
about
to a
Kanye
cult.
Quest.
But we don't know, and I think that's kind of the situation here.
Yeah. Should be noted, one of the users was Rosa. Their name was mentioned, which, notably shares the name of the Rosa video, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
The big twist, the big interesting fucking thing, is that when the countdown ultimately ends, and this is skipping a lot of details because I'm looking at our time right now, and holy shit.
Oh, I do want to mention one thing, which is that people were able to email Ifrit, and Ifrit responded in character.
Yes.
I wanted to bring up that this is an ARG that has player interaction, and that's one of the ways they did it early on, was emailing Ifrit. There were emails and chat rooms you could see and go to, and the characters would respond in character.
Yeah. It should also be noted, actually, that I believe this website and a lot of websites throughout this ARG actually have been, like, basically archived, because the original websites have, like, gone through their own changes, which specifically when that timeline went down, like, when it counted down, the website was taken down, and then it was replaced by a new website, and one of the characters, Ifrit, was basically just missing.
Yeah. Ifrit mentioned in a lot of emails, like, hang on, someone's knocking at my door.
Which I believe was thought to be Kelbris.
Yeah. So, here's where the next ARG part comes in. Somebody made a video response to one of the Jidusable videos of them playing the Song of Time in Ocarina of Time, or Majora's Mask, one or the other. Now, so the video responses were a thing in YouTube for a while that they got rid of a while ago, that let you respond directly to a video with another video, and it would have, like, a section under the video for video responses, sort of like creating a thread of videos. So people responded to one of the videos with this of them playing the Song of Time, and the website came back with the countdown restored. So people started realizing that they could affect the elements of the game happening using songs from Legend of Zelda.
Yeah. This is, I think, my favorite part about this entire ARG, is that specific aspect.
Yes.
Where, like, it not only, like, quite literally, uses, it combines so many parts of the medium, where it's like, it uses reply videos, it uses the actual game mechanics of Majora's Mask, in interesting ways.
Yeah. So one of them is, like, the new wave bossa nova, which you use on the Zora that lost her voice. You use it in-game to give her voice back. So they play this in a video response, and one of the characters, Rosa, starts talking to the players, because she has her voice now.
And it, interestingly, the Song of Healing was played by somebody against what other people were advising. And it caused that character to disappear.
Yes.
And seemingly, Kelbris got to Rosa, who's the character who suddenly had a voice.
Yeah. I want to mention that we find out Ifrit's real name is Matt Hubris. This could be a pen name because all the characters on the website have like pen names under their username.
Yeah.
But Matt Hubris is the name for like his email account. So yeah, they go through this for a while, this cycle of playing Song of Time and then using other songs to see what happens.
So I want to put the curtain, like pull the curtain a little bit. If it sounds like this is slightly rambling, the only really good, like, concise is a strong word, but the only really good, full retelling of this story that has the third arc as well, is a series by, I believe his name is Ryan Geaver on YouTube. The Haunted Cartridge arc is one video, and this part is 2 videos, and all videos are an hour to an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
And that's not even getting to the next arc.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as, like, very significant plot beats, I feel like we covered most of them.
Yeah.
Through this arc. It should be noted that this arc was kind of cut short, pretty much just because the person running it, Alex Hall, just stopped for whatever reasons.
Yeah. So one of the big criticism within the community levied against Alex Hall is that, like, the arc kind of just, like, a little bit ambiguously ended, and then, like, there were plans to have a third arc, but it just sort of petered out. Beta. Yeah. Very, like, basically because of various reasons. But this was an arc from 2012, and it wouldn't be picked up again until 2020. Yes.
It always kind of seemed like Alex Hall didn't really want to keep continuing it. Or, like, he posted about, like, making a movie or stuff like that. It was kind of just seemed like he wasn't going to pick it back up eventually. Right after the second arc ended, there was a game jacking.
Yeah.
Which is not as fun as it sounds. Game jacking is a serious offense in the ARG world. It is when somebody pretends to continue the game as if they were the one behind it, even though they're not a part of the game or its original team. So, in this case, it was like somebody had posted pretending they were Jedusable, like a cipher, and then that pointed to a DeviantArt account for a character. And then they kind of just kept going with, like, a separate website and a separate, like, chat room and email chain, kind of doing the same things that were done in the previous arc in the actual Jedusable stuff. But eventually it became known that the person running it, Ryukaki, wasn't the same as Jedusable. They weren't Alex Hall.
Yeah.
And they weren't told to do so by Alex Hall.
Yeah.
They weren't given any guidance. And Alex Hall was just like, it's kind of cool, sure.
Yeah, there was drama that's literally almost a decade old that we're not really going to get into.
Yeah.
That was just sort of like, Ryukaki said that, Alex Hall had given him permission but hadn't given him any guidance, and Alex Hall said that Ryukaki, just did it on his own, and at this point, it doesn't matter. The only thing that does matter is that there's a point where Ryukaki is running from Kelbris, the person or creature or whatever who's been, kidnapping people. And he, runs away from him on bike and then, like, falls off and continues running, ends up somewhere and then comes back to where his bike was, and there's no longer a bike, which means that, canonically speaking, Kelbris stole Ryukaki's bike.
Yes, that is a great detail. I do think something else interesting is that most of this is, like, deconfirmed by the later arc. Or the later arcs.
Yeah.
Like, Ryukaki interprets things from the Jedusable stuff that have different meanings that Jedusable later expanded upon. Like the knocking on the door.
Yeah.
So...
So...
This kind of happened for a while. There was a big drought until one day Jedusable posted... see me.wmv and hear me.wmv.
Yes. So, this is the best.
Yes.
Okay, I want to give slightly more context.
Yes.
So Alex Hall went on to do sort of other things. He actually even started a Kickstarter for Methods of Revolution, a movie that he wanted to create that I think got funded.
But then he had to cancel and refund it.
Yeah. But then, yeah, at a point not too far after, he did post seeme.wmv and hearme.wmv, and people were like, "Oh shit, the it's coming back on."
Yeah. And then they open it up, and they see Goron Link. Link put on the Goron mask. He goes to the top of the clock tower, and it starts playing a song by Jibbs featuring Chamillionaire, where it goes, "If you're here before you see me, I got King Kong in the trunk."
King Kong, King.
And the rest of it is just a giant shit post of going around basically the exact same videos as the original, like, series, but with Goron Link and, like, other just funny things going on. Like, they just start dancing all over the place. He'll, like, die with, like, the lifting in the air and burning on fire, and then come back, and then the music starts playing again.
Yeah.
The whole thing is just a joke. And then it gets to the Goku going Ultra Instinct with, like, "This is Super Saiyan Stage 1." But it's Link putting on different masks. And it turns out it was just an April Fool's joke. It was posted on April 1st.
Yeah.
But I feel like you could just follow the original ARG and then watch King Kong and get exactly the right amount of fun out of this.
Yes.
King Kong is the name of the video now. That's what it's on the Jed Usable channel. You can go back and watch it. It's beautiful.
It is. It's so fucking good.
Yeah.
So okay.
But so yeah.
100 cartridge that happens, ends. The Moon Children arc happens, ends, or kind of peters out. So the third arc is Awakening. I think it was created in 2020, and it was basically Alex Hall coming back to it and wanting to properly finish the ARG. Some interesting little aspects of this is that Alex Hall created like a Patreon, and specifically Alex Hall basically was like, "This is a tip jar, and I will be, posting some supplemental stuff here, but nothing will be behind a paywall, and you will gain, like, there will be some things, but, like, you will not gain game benefits."
Yeah.
And, like, it was basically it was a means of having definitive out-of-character. There were previous out-of-character posts of, like, explaining the game, but they would eventually become, like, slightly more canon than that.
It's the problem of he didn't have a separately defined out-of-character and in-character persona. It was just Jid Usable on both fronts.
Yeah.
And so anything he posted on Jid Usable, even if it was meant to be out of character, it could be construed as in character.
Exactly.
And so he wanted to have a definitive split between those, which means kind of breaking the kayfabe and letting people know I'm a real person, but it allowed him to run it a bit better.
Yeah.
It's here that the "this is not a game" ARG kind of falls out of the way, and it starts becoming more of a like a Twitch plays almost.
Yeah.
I want to compare it to The Town of Nowhere, which is a series ran by Rev Scarecrow, a Twitch streamer, where everybody in chat was playing a person in like a D&D campaign, not actually D&D, but like a role-playing game, and people would vote on what actions they would take. But ultimately, it was like the relationship of a DM and players, just through one shared character.
Yeah.
That's essentially what ends up happening over time. Before that, though, there is some other videos that don't have player interaction. The main ones are the .text videos.
Yeah, so the .text videos, I think I think these are another point that you can certainly levy some criticism. So the .text videos take place in basically like a alternate timeline, generally starring a person named Jadis. And Jadis is like a survivor of a kind of apocalypse. And the nature of the apocalypse is like multi-prong fold, in that like there's a virus or something named Heroes, much like our coronavirus.
Much like a virus.
Fair enough. The impact of it is kind of like directly correlated with coronavirus.
Yeah, there are riots.
Yeah, there's a lot of riots,
especially in St. Louis. Much of this takes place in St. Louis.
Yeah, that was one of the weirdest things. Was like St. Louis is a really major location in this ARG in the TXT videos, and like I don't know if we've mentioned this before. We're St. Louis locals.
Yeah, the only thing St. Louis tends to appear in are top 10 zoos in America and the list of people that hate Cronky.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, and Chuck Berry. Those are the three things.
Well, we also have Nelly.
Oh, sure. Nelly as well. Kelly Clarkson, I think?
I want to say...
John Goodman.
The
woman who played Pam from The Office.
There are...
See, we take what we get. We have to take our wins when we get them.
There are exactly two... For a quick diversion, there are exactly 2 times that I remember YouTubers have talked about St. Louis. One of them is Yahtzee did a review of The Crew where he shit on St. Louis twice. And one of them is Ross Scott played The Crew again, and basically made the same exact joke where like he was like going to St. Louis, and then he got to St. Louis and he was like, and this is St. Louis. Yeah. So anyway,
I remember the streamer Mango played somebody on Melee Netplay who had horrible internet. He was like, fucking St. Louis charter ass internet. But yeah, so like they say in Missouri, we don't talk about Missouri. But yeah,
so yeah, there's a lot of riots. There's a lot of social upheaval. One of the specific things is like a parallel to Epstein, where like, you know, it's outed that a lot of billionaires are pedophiles.
Yeah,
weird.
Yeah. So, anyways, this is the part that had to be put on pause because it was rapidly approaching real life at a way that was kind of. On one hand, it seemed like he was basing it off current events. On the other hand, it seemed like he didn't want to go as far as current events had went, or he realized midway, like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, so, like, I think you can levy certainly a bit of a criticism in that, like, he wanted to have aspects of current events. Okay, sure, obviously. And, you know, societal upheaval leading to sort of an apocalypse scenario, that's certainly not, you know, a unique thing or anything. But there is, like, I think certainly he made the right call in, like, delaying them, especially when, you know, when he was going to release them coincided with some perhaps real life protests about real life people.
Yeah.
But I do think it is worth questioning the decision of, like, the way that he phrased some of it to begin with, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think it's anti-revolution. Like, one of the points made is basically like, by the time the revolution could have come, it kind of would have been too late. So I don't think it is not phrased as, you know, rabble rousers and the pedophilic elite are equally bad. It's just more like, I feel like, I don't think that this was exactly the best way to go about this story beat.
It feels very kind of centrist nihilistic, of like, everything sucks.
Yeah.
Not really taking a side in that sense. There is one thing I do want to mention is that there are multiple references to solipsism, which is sort of the philosophy that you are the only thing in the universe. Think of it like the Descartes, like, I think, therefore I am.
Yeah.
But then taking that as you are the only thing that you know thinks, and thus, because you can't verify that other people think, sorry, Galen, then you must be the only thing that is. It's not a great philosophy. It sucks, but it is relevant for some of the themes later on.
Yeah.
There's references to, like, a character saying, if I died, then the rest of the world would die with me.
Yeah. And it's, like, it is good to have themes, and, like, I can't get necessarily against, these types of themes. Like, just because I personally disagree with themes like that doesn't mean that you can't have them.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most interesting, horror games that's coming out hopefully soon, Who's Lila, has heavy themes of solipsism, and I really want to play it. It looks really cool. But, like, I feel like, you can do that well, and then, like, you can do that when there are real life things happening. And I feel like it's less helpful to like have phrased it the way he did.
Yeah.
But that said, I do still like this ARG. This is not a call to cancel Alex Hall.
It seems like the community's already done that from the vibe I got.
Yeah.
But not in the reason you're thinking of. I don't think he's done anything that bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so to get back on track, the TXT stuff and the Jadis stuff kind of stops for the obvious reasons. There is another storyline going on, though, that has actual player interaction. Yes. Involving a hotel.
Yeah. So, the website Methods of Revolution, is discovered, and it's, like, directly, basically kind of like a alt version or a reboot of the Moon Children, I believe. And it basically kind of becomes, like, very similar to the Moon Children forum, where you can search it and find a whole bunch of pages that have various information and various ciphers. And if I remember correctly, one of the most important pages is like a page to play a song.
Yes, it is a poll that has a list of songs from the game. Song of Time, Healing, Awakening, Inverted Song of Time, Double Time, which lets you speed up time, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the choice that ended up being chosen the most was the Song of Healing, the one that brings the dead back to life in mask form.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, essentially, what happens then is that somebody wakes up in a hotel room in one of the videos, and they are met by some voice on the other end of the door to the room being locked. And the guy's like, yeah, you're stuck here forever. Don't try any funny thing. I'm armed and I'll keep you there. Also, time works differently here. I was going to get an entertainment set for you, but that seems to be running a little late. And people could then also interact with this person by telling them to, like, do different things, like going outside of the room or trying to stay in there or waiting, stuff like that. People eventually posted to leave the room, in which the character, like, ran and eventually was caught by something after they couldn't leave the hotel. And then a new character came in, and the guy who was at the door is like, yeah, the person before you really tried to do a number on this, but he wasn't able to get out, and you wouldn't be either. But hey, I got that entertainment set for you. And the entertainment set, wouldn't you believe it, was a Nintendo 64 with Majora's Mask.
Yeah, to give some more context again, the character's name is Abel. Mm-hmm. Definitely a reference to the biblical Abel. Also, it has been confirmed that Jeduceable is specifically a reference to Judas and Abel from the Bible. But yes, Abel is like, the guy before you, fucked up. And so people decided to actually vote to wait. And then, eventually, the guy was like, hey, we got your entertainment set up. It's a Majora's Mask. And people, I believe it is specifically like an unlabeled cartridge with Majora on Sharpie, so it's definitely the original cartridge.
Yeah.
And obviously people vote to play it because, like, holy shit, we can play it. Now, one interesting little thing, is that a previous poll was run, hide, or fight. And people chose to hide, which I believe meant, stay in the room. But when they get into the cartridge, they, like, the player who is a woman who is eventually named Sarah. I believe her name, like, she inputs her name, and that's why we figure out her name.
Yeah.
She, like, goes into the cartridge, and it's, like, basically a barren fucking wasteland. And she, looks around, and she eventually, like, glitches through the floor, but then she, like, lands on some water, and a text box pops up that's like, oh, hey, there's not a lot of new people here. And she finds herself, I think, in a forest.
Yeah, the forest from the very beginning of the game.
Yeah. And a song, I want to say this is when Ben's theme shows up, which is like an AI continued song of healing.
Yeah.
And she sees the elegy statue in the distance, and she goes to hide. But, like, the statue doesn't do anything to her. And, like, she peeks around and stuff. And the statue eventually basically explains that its name is Ben. B-E-N with, like, spelled like a normal name, not Ben with all caps. And this is basically the spirit of the boy, like the boy who drowned. What we learn is that there's the process of ascension is not like a religious thing so much. It's actually it is a religious thing, but it's also a technological thing. It's like a literal technological process in this fiction that basically like transfers your soul into a game cartridge.
Yeah.
Not literal game cartridge by the time further plot stuff is revealed, but like the origin of it was like basically wanting to tape people's sapience and put them into digital worlds.
Yes. Thus becoming digitally immortal.
Yeah.
A digital afterlife, which has a whole lot of ethical questions that are basically present to make sure that you understand this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Now, so the hide is relevant because Sarah ends up playing hide and seek with Ben. And by the time it's done, Ben just kind of stands still, and Sarah's able to play the Song of Healing on Ben, which then turns Ben into a Link mask. Then Sarah puts on the mask and is given this like rush of memories and information about all the previous people that were in the game before her. And she realizes something is fucked up.
Yeah.
She's like booted out of the game, and Abel's like, hey, yeah, so that cartridge has a bunch of dead people inside of it. Let me just get that from you, and I'll give you a regular copy of Majora's Mask, but if you go back in there, you're there for good.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about this as well is that Sarah resets the cartridge. Like, she plays the Song of Time to reset it to the first day.
Right.
Ben basically, like, uses the last of his power, basically, because the fourth day glitch kind of, like, let him actually do things in the cartridge.
So, we should reference also that the 2 missing videos from the Jad Usable arc were uploaded and revealed.
Yeah.
This showed kind of an end of the world scenario, where, like, everything was black, very little was present. Pretty much what Sarah goes through when she enters the cartridge. And throughout it, like, Jad Usable runs into, like, the Zora woman who's crying because there's a dead Zora. Runs into some other characters. I think the potion seller from Ocarina of Time first appears in one of these. And then, at the very end, he comes face to face with a face that is not from Majora's Mask. And is, like, the only thing... or the first time there's something that's not in the actual Nintendo 64 games. It's this weird blue, like, ghoulish-looking face.
Yeah.
And it starts screaming, like, what am I?
Yeah, it is a face that has shown up earlier in the ARG and is the face of the father.
Yes. So, this is where Sarah first appears when she enters the cartridge. And when she resets the game, it is back to normal Majora's Mask. Except, people were able to bring in something from outside of the game in this, like, brief intermission. They brought in, like, a pendant or a necklace.
Yeah.
And this became the Pendant of Memories, which is an item that allows you to restore memories to people who forgot them in-game. And she is able to use this to restore memories to people in-game.
Yeah.
She runs into the potion seller again, who reveals that he is actually Matt.
Yeah, Matt Hubris, who is Ifrit, who was the like first one to get taken away by Kelbris.
Yeah, who is also one of the moderators in the main like tech support of the Moon Children website.
Yeah, and he's with the Elegy statue, which is Ben.
Yeah, and he's like, all right, so this place is pretty fucked up. We need to take down the father who's controlling everything. I need you to help me with that.
I need you to help me to take down the father. He also specifically says, like, do you have anything that can, like, help you, change data, which implies that, like, there was a game shark if you decided to explore.
Yeah.
That is one thing I really like about this arc, is that, like, there is references to, like, paths that weren't taken, basically.
Yeah, it's hard to tell how much of this was ad-libbed DM style, because I assume Alex wanted to create certain outcomes. I don't know if all the player choices had their own branches, or if he kind of went off what was chosen first and like planned ahead from that.
Yeah.
How much of it was on the spot when he saw the decision?
Yeah. So I want to tangent again.
Yeah.
So there's this trick. If you're a writer, if you're a fellow person who likes to tickle the ivories of the keyboard every once in a while, here's a cool trick for any, mystery. If you want to inject some mystery, what you do is you set up that there's a mystery, and then once you've figured out what that mystery is, you say what it is, you reveal it. So the point of this joke is that I feel like, and this is not a negative criticism, I feel like a lot of what happened in the third arc is less like this was the plan all along, and more like this was the story that Hall wanted to tell, and was kind of like, what can inspire me from all the information.
Yeah.
So like there are some clever things. I was literally sitting here, like, as we were rediscussing the haunted cartridge, and kind of going like, oh, so that's how that connects. But like, it isn't like, oh shit, that was supposed to be, fucking Ben the entire time. It's more like, oh shit, that's a really interesting thing that he made. That's an interesting decision he made with Ben.
So yeah, something that I learned from the manga Bakuman, which is a manga about people making manga, is that a trait of a lot of good writers is they're able to look at their old things and find plot threads that weren't dangling. They're able to, like, draw from previous statements that seemed originally, and maybe were originally intended to be conclusive, but could be expanded upon. So in this case, there doesn't need to be any further exploration of Ben as a character, but there could have been, and that allows him to add some more substance and more, fun twists when there wasn't originally a need to.
Yeah.
Part of the point of horror is that it's left up to the imagination sometimes, and that also means you have room to build off for the facts.
Yeah. Like, I like this contextualization, because, like, in the original, the horror was like, there's this fucked up cartridge, and, the Elegy statue keeps following me. But in the Awakening arc, it adds its own extra layer, like, oh, there was, like, a soul trapped in that statue that was unwittingly being made to, terrify this college kid.
Yeah, like, a lot of the tone of it, though, is more, like, RPG lit, or, like, it's a lot more of a sci-fi story than a horror story necessarily.
Yeah.
So, for example, what happens next is a few episodes where Sarah goes to a location that is voted upon by the audience. It's like, where do you want to go? And it's a list of places from Majora's Mask. For one example, she goes to Lon Lon Ranch and finds Malin and saves her in the, like, side quest where you save Malin from aliens.
Yeah.
Uses the Pendant of Memories. Turns out Rosa was inhabiting Malin.
Yeah, so this was really interestingly found out by the community, because it was theorized that Malin was Rosa, because a lot of Rosa's dialogue is about how, like, she, can't remember. Mm-hmm. And the thing that happens to Malin, the big thing, is that if you don't save her on the second day, she gets kidnapped and her memory is wiped.
Yeah.
And so Sarah saves her on the second day, and then uses the memories, and Rosa's like, oh shit, thank you, you saved me. And like, Rosa then continues to provide benefits to the player throughout the run.
Again, I don't know if that was intended the whole time, or if that was Alex responding to player theories and being like, oh, I'll do that.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters in the end. But so that's an example of like, that happens, but then when Sarah returns to Clocktown, there's an actual boss fight.
Yeah.
Against two Odalwas, which is the first boss in the game. And these are just, they're played up straight as boss fights.
Yeah.
She will attack them, they'll attack her, she eventually beats them very narrowly. And this happens for like every boss in the game. It happens for Goat, who is just called Goat. Georg.
It happens with Goat, and a big point is basically made that like she doesn't have the Goron mask. She can't, like, she theoretically should not really be able to fight him, but she makes, like, it basically becomes a shonen anime where like she finds alternate ways with bombs and whatnot to fight him.
She knocks Goat into space, and then space has to turn into stone or else he won't be able to breathe. It's a joke for you fans. So yeah, this happens a few times. Ultimately, it ends with you know, like a couple characters rescued, and Matt is like, okay, it's time for you to finish the job. You need to go to this last location. I think it's Stone Tower. When Sarah does that, she is teleported away and into the Chamber of the Sages from Ocarina of Time, which is a area that's like a circle with some hexagons on it. It's where all the NPCs appear when you save them in Ocarina of Time. And she fights the fierce deity Link.
Yeah, so like one of the cool little things about that video, when the videos were set to premiere, their thumbnail would change a lot. Mm-hmm. And the thumbnail of that video, or I think the video previous, is a direct copy of one of the famous Haunted Cartridge videos, except that instead of Zora Link, it's Sarah. And when she, like, you know, I think she's, like, trying to fight the fish boss, but, like, she kind of literally can't because she doesn't have the Zora mask. Mm-hmm. And eventually, upon fleeing, she is in a white void with Zora Link.
Right.
And Zora Link is the progenitor. It's Jeduceable.
Yes.
And Jeduceable is basically, like, trying to stop Sarah for slightly unknown reasons. He basically says, like, he's effectively like, this isn't going to turn out how you think it is. This world is how it is for a good reason. And then he teleports her to the sages.
Right.
And she has a fight with him, who is Fierce Deity's Link.
Right. And it goes on for a long time. It seems like he has her, like, moves figured out. And eventually she dies.
Yeah, she fucking dies.
So she dies. Then a little later, like, I think this is when there was a brief hiatus. And when he returns, there is an advertisement for the Eternity Project.
Yeah.
A, like, honest to God, like, big tech advertisement, like, you know, all smiles while there's something sinister going on. Very, like, Alan Resnick style of, like, a company that uploads people who are about to die into digital worlds where they can enjoy their life. This is the big, like, hat drop reveal of the whole plan. That, like, the Majora's Mask cartridge was the alpha, the first iteration of this, like the prototype. It is listed as World Alpha, and there's, like, all these other worlds that are like Beta, Gamma, Delta, Epsilon, but that's like it's like a tech alpha, a prototype. It was their first experiments with digitizing people. The Ascension was digitizing people. Kelbris was the first one, and then, you know, Ben was another one. The Moon Children was one of the ways they recruited people, because they couldn't, they thought that only kids were able to be digitized. And, like, in 2020, in universe, they know that anybody can be digitized now. But, like, they had all these kids they were experimenting on. They repeatedly mentioned, like, we keep our technology patented so that the sacrifices of those that helped us along the way will not be in vain.
Yeah.
Just referencing sacrifices like, oh, that's dead children.
Thumb.
So we get a bunch of this world building about the Eternity Project and all that. And we also learn through the website for the Eternity Project that there is sort of a transitional space that's like a world where people can talk to people in the real world, sort of communication between the two, in that it's built as sort of a way to get people integrated into everything. And this is what the hotel is this like between space, the horizon, Wayward Horizon.
Yeah.
And so players, they pay attention to the website, they find some pages, they do the normal internet sleuthing they've been doing, and then they find a live stream, or not a live stream, it's like a recording of a message from Abel, who is like, hey, there's a problem with World Alpha, you need to get this shit figured out. Oh, I forgot to mention, there is also logs of Ifrit and Drowned talking, and Ifrit's like, everything seems fine for launch, and Drowned's like, but there's a problem with World Alpha, and Ifrit's like, oh, I've done this multiple times. World Alpha has this weird problem, but it's never been a serious issue before. It's never affected the other worlds. It's kind of going on about this weird corruption World Alpha has.
Yeah.
But so Abel mentions, like, you only got this tech support job because your dad is a higher up in the company. Put your money where your mouth is and fix this problem. And he does that 3 times before finally he's like, okay, look, I need you to do this for me. Follow these instructions. Go to this web page with this username, put in this password, and then you'll be able to upload a text file to inject some code into the system. And he doesn't say what code to inject. But it's obvious that this is a thing the players can do, since he now gave them a username and password and all that.
Yeah. And so people went to that site, found exactly what that was, and the community sort of debated, basically, and what they ultimately decided was they injected the Game Shark code to give Sarah a fairy.
Yes, which would bring her back to life. And then they did that, they uploaded it, there was one last message from Abel that was like, well, it's not what I would have done, but I guess it works. We'll see how this turns out. And then goes one of the last videos. Sarah wakes up and enters Clocktown.
She is basically stuck in Clocktown, but she goes to the hotel, I believe.
Right, the mayor's office.
Yeah, the mayor's office. That's it. She goes to the mayor's office and, she talks to the guard, and it starts the normal dialogue, but then it pauses as if, the memory is coming back, and he's like, go on in, he's expecting you. And so she goes into the mayor's office, and the mayor is like, oh, you're the one. We've all been really wanting to meet you. And so the mayor takes her to this, sort of void space, where there's a whole bunch of people talking.
It is a representation of a Discord chat.
So during the Patreon, there were certain rewards, and, again, none of them were, any story cheats or anything, but, one of them was basically, you will kind of show up within the ARG in some aspect. It should, specifically, it should also be noted that, there were 2 people who were, long-standing community members who were canonized by, one of them is Tattle, and, it's actually with Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
And, the idea is that these are people who have been digitized into this world.
Yeah.
And so this is the big scene where, it's just a bunch of people, including, Rosa.
Yeah.
And they're all just arguing, so we need to send her to this place.
Yes.
No, we can't send her there.
It's a representation of the Discord chat of people arguing over what to do next.
Yeah.
What's happening is that it's the last day, the moon is about to hit. They're trying to figure out if she should do the 4th day glitch or not.
Yeah.
The community decides to do the 4th day glitch.
Yeah, so the end of that video is she goes to the place, and she, goes to the astronomer, and he's like, do you want to look at the exact time to do the 4th day glitch?
Mm-hmm.
And, they ultimately decide yes. And this is the end.wmv, the last video of this saga.
Yes. She leaves the astronomer's tower. Upon leaving, she notices that the astronomer's gone, and there's an impact of a crater there. And also that as she's going back through Clocktown and through the bomber's hideout, there are these stones that say the remnants of a soul are here.
Yeah.
Or something like that. It's an actual gravestone from the Icona Canyon area and that whole cemetery. But she goes to Clocktown, and there's a lot more of these gravestones. And she goes to the center of Clocktown, and then she sees Matt and the dead Happy Mask salesman. And Matt says, "Oh, thank you so much. You know, I can't believe that other guy was trying to stop you from doing all this, but you've actually helped me do exactly what I want. I've killed everyone now. Everyone's dead. It's just me, you, and this one guy, and we're going to take down Father." And it turns out he's evil, and that Jedusable was trying to stop Sarah to stop Matt from doing what he's trying to do.
Yeah, the ARG has a lot of like interesting little. Obviously, it has a lot of little things, but it is interesting that like there are basically like hints that Jedusable was the one who was kind of like fucking everything up and not the father necessarily. Like I want to say that barring a few exceptions, there's basically like nothing that couldn't have been done by a Link that, you know, was fucked up basically.
Yeah.
And so like, you know, so like when Matt like burns the Happy Mask salesman at the stake.
Oh yeah, he does a whole crucifixion and burns him alive.
And then like like, you know, Sarah basically runs through the town and there's a bunch of these like clones of Matt or something.
No, it's the banker from Majora's Mask who's doing this like waving motion that looks like sort of a praise.
Yeah.
You know.
And so like she runs through and she eventually runs to the sewers where she finds Jedusable as the fierce deity Link and Ben who is like a custom texture that looks terrified basically.
Yeah.
And Jedusable is like, "You idiot. I fucking, you know, I was the one trying to stop you. I was trying to stop this." And I think another small aspect is that like one of the points made in the community was like, we don't want to repeat Jedusable's mistake. That was part of what like, you know, led them to certain areas was like they would avoid certain areas that Jedusable went to. But it's also worth noting that the community overwhelmingly decided to repeat the mistake of doing the fourth day glitch because that was theoretically what would unshackle Ben.
Yeah.
But the Jedusable is basically like, you know, this is the end of the line for me. I tried to hold them off, but maybe you can do something. And so he like dies and becomes like a custom fierce deity armor that Sarah as adult Link wears. And she goes to the same place that Jedusable went to in children.wmv, which is that void where he saw the father. And there is Matt and the like Majora mask wearing kid.
Yes. And the Majora kid turns into Majora's Wrath, the final boss of the game, and is the final boss of Ben Drowned, the Sarah saga.
Yeah.
She fights, she wins after a hard-fought battle.
Well, she fights and she wins because she plays the Song of Healing on him.
That's right. She gets close and plays the Song of Healing, which the Majora kid disappears, and then Matt is like, "You shouldn't have done that," and then dies.
Yeah, which is so good.
Yeah. And then Sarah comes face to face with the father, and instead of freaking out, she just lifts the pendant of memories, and the father's like, "Why do you do this? This strange offering."
And the character who is Cirque, or I think his name is Cirque.
Circle Hunter?
Yeah, Circle Hunter.
Which is Tattle.
Yeah, Cirque is basically like, we're here trying to save the cartridge, and he's like, interesting.
And we learned that Father is basically a caretaker program that is set to do the bidding of the people inside. He like works reflexively off of the people in there, is what he says.
Yeah. So like
there's some mentions early on in the third arc of like, now that they've proceeded through experiments on artificial intelligence, now they can launch their project. And this is the artificial intelligence they're talking about.
It's also noted that he says, like, "I'm the last god of this place." So, you know,
yeah,
theories.
Mm-hmm. But so the thing was like Matt and what I think is supposed to be Calbris, the Majora kid, wanted to become as gods and, you know, do whatever they wanted, and so they were going to try to reprogram the father in some way. and that's why they wanted to get there. And Jed Usable didn't want that to happen. And Sarah, upon offering this, Sarah in Tattle, who is Circle Hunter, says, like, we want to, let the people in here live in peace.
And the father effectively goes, like, you know what, like, I can reset the program. I will get rid of any harmful entities and anomalies. And so they're like, okay, so all the moon children in game, the in-game moon children are the in-universe moon children when they were ascended, and they've basically been the antagonists. They're the ones who are fucking everything up.
Yeah,
and so they're like, okay, so you're getting rid of the moon children, and he's like, yeah, and Cirque is kind of like, okay, and what about us? And the father's like, I mean, basically by being here, you're an anomaly. So
yeah, the deal is that everybody in the simulation that's still there will have their memories wiped to remove the trauma of the events that happened, but they will then live as if they had just been digitized in the game.
Yeah,
and that is the deal that they decide to make, that they will sacrifice themselves. So yeah, by the way, Circle Hunter is canonically dead.
Yeah.
Sorry, I hope you enjoyed your money.
So,
but no, yeah. But everybody else lives a happy life.
Yeah, the ending is actually really fucking good, because it's like, the conversation ends, and like, I think, he asks, like, Circle Hunter asks, like, what will happen to us, and he's basically like, that's beyond my understanding.
Yeah.
And like, Sarah kind of like, stands and then like has a reaction as like static overtakes the scene, and then cut to black, cut to credits. Now, here's my theorizing. My theorizing is that Sarah is going to be Alex Hall has said that he wants this to be a further series. He wants to continue in this universe, but not with Ben drowned. So my theory is that she was not killed. She was just like kicked into a different world, and Circle Hunter probably also will be in a different world.
Vampire world.
Honestly, I could see it. The post-credit scene is really sweet, because it is a kid Link that has been confirmed to be Ben, waving to the camera right next to the Elegy statue, which is back to normal.
Yeah, it's mentioned that Ben wanted to be like the hero of his favorite game, but some accident in his like digitizing process caused him to be the Elegy statue. Sorry about Galen, he was just putting on a new fit, looking fit as hell.
Oh, hell yeah, I'm fly as shit.
Got his Halloween costume ready. and so, due to the accident, Ben became the Elegy statue, but now he is able to be Link like he wanted to be.
Yeah. It's a really sweet ending.
It's a very Madoka ending.
Yeah.
So yeah. Also in the credits, Jibs and Chamillionaire are credited.
Yeah.
And thanked in the special thanks. So yeah, so that's the summary of the series. From what I understand, there was a bit of a falling out with the community in Jid Usable. I don't think we need to get into that here, because I don't know, there's a lot of stuff that we weren't in the community, so we weren't really fully aware of it.
Yeah. I know that they're like, basically one of the big things levied against Alex Hall during was just that Alex Hall has a big problem with not like communicating.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know if I can get against it. Like, this isn't like Alex Hall is canceled. It's more just like, there were issues between Alex Hall and the community that we really can't comment on. I don't think Alex Hall is a terrible person. He does credit the Joe Rogan podcast and Tim Pool as like resources used. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I was going to say, I don't know what his politics are. Very Chris Pratt-esque in that regard. But so I wanted to talk about some of the actual themes and motifs of the series.
Yes.
I do have my own extrapolation.
Ooh.
Which is that I think that Matt is... So here's the thing. There's the last shot of like... Not last shot, but there's the bit of like, there's the father who's controlling it, and then there's Matt and Kelbris. I think that's a Trinity thing, but I'm not just saying that because it would be very convenient if it was a Trinity thing.
Yeah.
I think that Matt is Jadis.
Oh.
So hear me out. Matt and Jadis both work in IT. Matt is the like person who runs the servers of the Moon Children website. Now, also, there is only one character who has canonically a father, which is Jadis. Because in the TXT videos, he mentions listening to police scanners with his dad.
Oh.
And Ryan Geaver, the person who made those summaries, mentions this as a point that Jadis is the person who Abel was calling. But I think since the only other person who works in IT is Matt, then that would be Matt. The reason he couldn't, attend to the thing Abel wanted help with was because he was already digitized.
Yeah.
Also, with the people who heard knocking on their doors, it's most likely that was Abel knocking on their door in the hotel, meaning that by that point they were already digitized.
Yeah.
One of the people who we know heard knocking, other than like Rosa, was Matt.
Yeah.
And then also Matt has a relationship with Kelbris, who is probably drowned. You know, they communicate in the websites and stuff, and those two are working together at, you know, in the actual storyline to overthrow Father. And
that does track as well, because like, even though Matt is the villain, it would make sense that Matt would be the one to revive Sarah in order to do the fourth day glitch, because like, that's the whole goal that he wants.
Exactly. So yeah, that's my extrapolation. And then of course Kelbris is the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Because he is an oracle. But also, I think Kelbris was only an oracle because he was actually digitized. The things that he's saying are prophecies are just the events of Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
That's obviously an out-of-universe, like, oh, you know, the moon crashing into the earth, how original. Yeah. But in-universe, they can be explained as what he is saying is just Majora's Mask because he's in the game.
Yeah. I like that. I like that theorizing. That's a good theorizing.
Good extrapolation.
This has been digital interactive media extrapolation.
Yes. So, here's something interesting. This is a theme I have seen a lot of recently, which is that immortality is torture.
Yes.
So, this was in Everhood, in Deathloop, both games from this year, and then this. I think this is super interesting because this is an ancient theme in Buddhist, in like Taoist, and stuff like that. Basically, in traditional sort of sense of religion sense, the idea is that like if there is the cycle of rebirth and dharma that ends in nirvana, then immortality prevents you from reaching nirvana, which is the like true enlightenment and true paradise or whatever. In like the Judeo-Christian sense, it's just that immortality means you never go to heaven. But so it's kind of a common theme along a lot of religions that immortality is a sin.
Yeah.
But people are further sort of using this as in relation to like escapism and media and how that reflects on us. And in this case, it is that the people that didn't want to be digitized, so a lot of the people from the Moon Children didn't know that that's what Ascension was. And they mention like I think there's a quote from Duskworld about like, I didn't want this, I want to go home, something like that.
Yeah.
And so it seems like for that sense, it is torture. The Eternity Project, there's clearly a lot of questions about like, what happens if the simulations run out of power, you know? Yeah. You can't actually be alive that long. Or the ethical question of, if people are living on your machines, that means you have a responsibility to keep those always running and bug-free, or else you are damaging their life and well-being.
Yeah. I want to say that there's a great... it's a Tom Scott video that's like Your Death Reinvented. And it's like basically a like short horror story where he's like, you know, you can have the no ads package or the ads package. And it's like, you try to choose the no ads package, but you don't have the money for it. So you have ads package. And it's like, it's this interesting...
I am here at the Wayward Horizon.
I am in a copy of Majora's Mask for the Nintendo 64. But like it's basically like the corporatization of heaven will ultimately lead to nothing great. Yeah. Where it's like, you know, the systems as they are do not encourage you to have a good, like, there is no incentive for perpetuity in capitalism. This is why we have shit like, you know, planned obsolescence and things like that.
Yeah. The fact that the cartridge ended up in a random college student's dorm means that the Eternity Project were not doing their ethical obligation in taking care of the lives that they sacrificed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would have that Nintendo 64 always running.
Yeah. And, like, the like, even just, you know, the fact that, like, they cared so little to, like, figure out what was wrong, even though it is literally said, like, Abel very specifically says that, like, this is, you know, the OG code. This is what everything's built on. So, like, you know, if this goes down, everything goes down. And it's just, it's just, like, you know, in this random hotel room with Sarah, because fuck it.
Yeah. So, there's also, I think this is hilarious, in the Eternity Project advertisement, they mention, like, what if you could be in the role of your favorite action superstar, or in your favorite video game with the original resolution? Who would want to be in a Nintendo 64 game at Nintendo 64 resolution? Who is like, yes, I want to be Link from Majora's Mask. And they're like, okay, time to de-polygon you. I hope you like vertices. It's like, ah! That's true torture. It's not having hands because they couldn't model fingers.
Oh my god, you become Cloud from Final Fantasy, but like you have to feel the pain of your elbow shrinking and your forearm and upper arm just ballooning.
That is awful, and whoever was in charge of that decision doesn't understand video games. So, the next part of this, I kind of have a theme that dovetails and piggybacks off that and other animal-related idioms. But also it is kind of an extrapolation. So there's also a huge theme of memory throughout the entire series. That, like, the big thing is that Ben's save file is his legacy. Obviously people remember Ben as a kid, but all we know about Ben, we know basically through the save file.
Yeah.
Things don't start getting really bad until Jedusable deletes the Ben save file, deleting his memory.
Yeah.
I think that there is a sort of... This is like something from, like, renting games that on cartridges. You don't really get this even if you rent games nowadays, because you don't get other people's save data. But there's this element of, like, you could get a cartridge that has somebody else's files on it, and just, like, see what they were doing. You could see their inventory, or like there was a copy of Snowboarding Kids we would always rent that had all the courses unlocked already. And so like we were like, oh, thank God we got the one people played on. So there is this element of like recognizing the people that came before you when getting these old games that I think the original Creepypasta really like digs into and kind of plays off.
Yeah, Judiciable even kind of mentions like, you know, oh shit, it's kind of sad that he was so close to the end. And when because he notices that like the save file is almost 100%.
Yeah. And then later on, like memories are a key factor in the Sarah arc as she's able to make people remember things. Now, Majora's Mask is really interesting because it is a Zelda game where people forget because they're in a time loop. And for one thing, this is another part of sort of horror about the Eternity Project, is that Majora's Mask means that you're going to go through a time loop, and you're probably going to forget if you're not playing as Link, because the only characters that keep their memories in-game are Link and Tattle.
Yeah, that's even kind of like semi-confirmed, because like at the beginning of the time loop in Sarah's arc, like the NPCs seem to remember that they just went through a lot of torture. They reference a dream.
Yeah.
But like, you know, slowly basically just evens itself out, and they just, you know, go back to their normal programming.
Yeah, so they're not even able to be fully aware of their afterlife experience, because they kind of just act as NPCs stuck in a time loop. Now, this is where the solipsism gets in, because, for one thing, Ben not having the cartridge, and then Jedusable getting the cartridge, means there was a period of time where the people in the cartridge could not think or, like, be active, because it wasn't on. So that's sort of a solipsist aspect.
Yeah.
But also, since the time loop and everything in the game is related to Link, if Link dies, then nothing can change in the game.
Yeah.
Including people's awareness. And so there is that solipsist element of if Link dies or the player playing Link, then nothing will happen. But here's where the extrapolation comes in. The 4th day glitch. The 4th day glitch is what causes things to remember who they are on a greater scale. It's like why all those townsfolk... Well, I guess they weren't the great 4th day glitch, but it was near the end of the loop.
Yeah.
As time progresses, people start to remember more. Until finally, the final hour where people are mostly aware. And that's also what got Ben to be active in the original Creepypasta. I think what it is that it's sort of like a memory leak. When, like, a program or hardware runs for so long that excess memory that doesn't get fully cleaned up starts to kind of seep out.
Yeah.
I think that's what the corruption is, and why the 4th day glitch is so significant. And why, like, by the time, at the end of Jed Usable's arc, everything's so corrupted, is literally just because it's been in the same time loop for way longer than it should be.
Yeah.
They talk about, like, you know, figuring out bugs. This is more of an extrapolation, but it could be the reason they did Majora's Mask was because it has an automated forced reset. Otherwise, there would be memory issues with so many, essentially, real people impacting the game and changing things where they weren't supposed to be.
Yeah. If you do Ocarina of Time, it's going to just, there is no end, there is an end point, but, like...
It will be that black void for
Yeah.
way longer than it should be. It's sort of an entropy type thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, the more things change from the original point, then it gets worse and worse. And so Majora's Mask is used to repeat that. And then the reason the 4th day glitch allows that to happen is because it breaks the loop. But so, that's sort of this other fridge horror element of, like, if the glitch isn't done, then people won't be able to be completely aware. But if it does happen, then the game breaks. And so... there's, like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Also, the Eternity Project mentions, like, they won't be able to have user-generated worlds. And I think that's for a similar reason. Of, like, they can't control the corruption that would happen if people gained control of an entire world. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, it's all fucked up. And the reason why the 4th day glitch happens is because it causes a memory leak, which then makes people remember too much.
I unfortunately don't have a whole lot of my own extrapolation.
I have one more theme I want to bring up, which is hubris. This is another sort of arc word. It was Matt's last name, but it's also mentioned a lot of other times. Hubris is, of course, the fatal flaw. The sort of pride and belief that you can do no wrong, or that you won't be wrong. You know, very Icarus. And Daedalus. Because he thought he could give his son wings. But every character has an amount of hubris. Like, Jed Usable's hubris was that he could solve whatever mystery was going on. Matt and Kelbrus's hubris was that they could become as gods. The Eternity Project's hubris was that they could cheat death without fully thinking it through. Sarah's hubris was that she could have the video game hero ending without dying at the end. And the hubris of all the digitized characters was that they could be at peace while, you know, the world just keeps resetting. Basically, everybody thinks that they know what they're doing, but nobody knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Which is a sign for very good internet fiction.
Honestly, that also ties in very well with the community itself, considering that the reason that they got I don't think it's a downer ending. Like, it is a good ending. I think it is ultimately a good ending for Ben. I think it is a good ending for everyone. To some extent, even with the, like, eternity sort of themes. But, like, the ultimate flaw of the community was doing the 4th day glitch despite kind of knowing that was the big thing that kicked everything off.
Yeah.
Assuming that things would be different this time because Matt said so.
And Alex Hall's hubris was that he could finish the project in a way people were satisfied with. See ya, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I think that if we're ready to wind down this 2-hour episode, I think that the Creepypasta is, like, probably one of the best.
Still goated.
Still goated.
The ARG is cool.
The ARG is very cool. I kind of prefer the Moon Children arc in general because I think it was a little more clever, but I also understand why Awakening was sort of more like The original arc was Chaos and the Awakening, or the Moon Children arc was Chaos and the Awakening arc is Order.
I like the closure in the Awakening arc.
Yes.
I think the Moon Children's lack of ending makes it feel worse when looking back at it, even if like a lot of cool things happen. Like I love the usage of game mechanics as ARG puzzle solving solutions.
Yeah.
And the interplay between the website and those is beautiful. It's just like really, really smart usage of materials. Really clever. King Kong is one of the funniest videos I've ever seen. It's just, if they didn't end like it did, it would, I think, be a GOAT ARG.
Yeah. But like in the same vein as well, I like the Moon Children arc was, I think, like much more of a smaller community. Whereas when it started back up, it was definitely a much larger community that was like interested. And so the fact that it was like, you know, kind of like made to be more of a like simple community effort is probably the best thing, you know, like probably for the best that it was more just like a, you know, like voting on polls and things like that. There were still a lot of ARG-esque elements of finding web pages and such.
Right. With the songs played in the Moon Children arc being basically anarchy for a lot of it, like people could upload whenever they wanted. There were people that would do songs that didn't have an effect or had a negative effect.
Yeah.
So having the voting system is just more of a means to make sure it's like fair, I guess, or equitable, or like.
And that isn't even to say that it didn't have any consequences, because like Alex Hall did confirm that like when they found the poll for the one song of like, I think the song
of healing,
the song to have healing to play for Ben, he had like mentioned like the original votes were for the like Elegy of Emptiness, and he has confirmed that like if that went through, it would have major drastic consequences.
I almost wonder what some of the plans were for alternate like outcomes, but at the same time I don't, because it works really well as it does, almost in the sense that like it almost feels like everybody did nearly the correct thing. Like sure, there are mentions of like something that could modify the game's code, or you know, Abel saying he would have done something differently at the end. But the story feels like it went the correct direction in the way it did. Like it still has some fun twists and payoffs.
Yeah. If I put on my like tinfoil hat, I would hazard to guess that like it probably would have ended not exactly like this or anything, but it probably would have had a good ending either way, as sort of a like Alex Hall probably didn't want to upset the fans by doing something terrible.
Yeah.
But like the fact that the fans had a direct impact on like the path that was taken was a very, very cool and interesting way to do this ARG.
Again, it feels more like the DM and player relationship of the DM wants the player to win to a certain amount.
Yeah.
And the player wants the DM to be neutral to a certain amount. But both people want to keep up their facades while also just they want the best story.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things is that this makes me miss the feeling of machinima.
Yeah.
I feel like if you were to just do straight up machinima nowadays, it would feel kind of cringy. Unless you were like Germa, who can do literally whatever and people would buy into it. Like,
oh, fuck you.
Like, there's so much room for using video games that exist as a storytelling medium in the, like, transformative sense that we talk about a lot. And this is a great example. But you really only see that with things like ROM hacks nowadays. And even then, those only exist as, like, a new video game built off the previous engine, rather than, like, a new experience separate from the original experience. Like, this makes me want to do stuff with, like, The Sims. I have, like, high-concept Sims streams video ideas.
There's a creator that I followed / I don't know if I still follow them, that would do, like, Gmod videos. that would be basically Gmod machinimas that were just massive shit posts, but they were like still telling an internal story, and I loved them.
I do want to shout out Video Game Championship Wrestling, which is
Yes!
a series that is like modded WWE games, but they use like video game and anime characters, and they still have like wrestling storyline segments where the characters talk to each other outside of the ring. And so it has a following like real wrestling, where people care about the stakes and the plot lines.
Yeah, I watched an entire video about the Baz's arc.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, shoutouts to Lemmy, aka La Mesa. One of the few people that knows the name of the protagonist of La Mulana is apparently Video Game Championship Wrestling. But no, yeah, it's like it feels like Red versus Blue happened, and everybody was like, "All right, we're done."
Yeah. And then Red vs. Blue became its own actual animated series that's
Yeah.
directly tied with Halo, which, you know, that's cool. I'm glad that happened. That's actually a super neat thing. But, like, I miss the head bob days. I miss when people tried to tell
Right.
stories with really weird, antiquated ways.
Right. I miss the, like, grungy aesthetic of old machinima. And this isn't just the boomer high chair. I would love to do something like this. I think it's just you have to approach it in a different angle now.
Yeah.
Because sincerity is so hard to pull off on the internet.
You're not fucking wrong. Like, bring back Shadow of Israfel, but done by better people.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, I think Ben Drown's place in... It has like 3 places in internet history. The Creepypasta, where it was hugely influential. The ARG / because like I knew of it as like, oh, wasn't that the thing that had an ARG that was game jacked and then it stopped? I didn't realize it had picked up last year again. I think nowadays its place is very complicated because only some people know about some of it. And it's just like, you ask somebody, hey, remember Ben Drowned? And you'll get 3 different answers.
Yeah.
But if it is just like this element of weirdly anachronistic internet media, I think it is really interesting, and I'm glad that it was finished.
I am glad that it was finished. I am also glad that, like, it basically has 3 different layers of people who know about it, to where even if you are in the topmost layer of, you know, that there was the Creepypasta, the ARG, and then the Awakening arc to tie everything together, you can still have a whole lot of fun sitting down and theorizing about what things mean and what's coming next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not much else to say. This was the most ARG that we're going to cover this month.
Yes. Next week is going to be an episode that's about an ARG, but it is not so massively historic, and it is also a bit more like...
It's less interactive.
Yeah. It's a lot more theorizing. There are ciphers, there are things to find, but like the interaction with it is a lot more of like piecing together a story.
Right. It's more one-sided.
You
know, I think ARGs have like interactions where the players interact with the game and the game responds to the players. What we're talking about next week doesn't really.
Yeah. There's some aspects,
okay,
I will say.
Sure.
But like
I do need to get a little caught up on it then. But yeah, just keep an eye out for that. I think it's still, like we've said earlier, this is meant to be sort of a spectrum of ARG-ness, with this being one very heavy end.
Yes. This is the like big, like, here is the, you know, this is a full-blown, massive, decade-spanning ARG. And so next week it's going to be, this is a smaller ARG that is also very good, but you know, is less ARG necessarily.
Mm-hmm. And the last one is not an ARG, you cretins. Don't call it an ARG. I swear I will come to your house and play Majora's Mask. You wanna come to my house and play Majora's Mask? All right, so thank you for listening. It's been 2 hours, very long, very big topic. You can follow us on Twitter at NetSurferPro, where we tweet teasers for our upcoming episodes, tweet on whether or not our episode will be on time or late. You can follow me on Twitter at MattCraigGaming, where I tweet my hot takes, as well as my cold opens, except I don't. But I tweet about what I'm doing, what I'm working on, if I've got new like mashups or whatever on the dock. I also tweet when I go live on my stream at twitch.tv/twack, twitch.tv/TWAK. I stream Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday from about 1 p.m. Central Time to 3 or 4. And I stream a mix of competitive games, puzzle games, roguelikes. I stream Hitman on every Friday, and people can use channel points to mess with me. So check that out. And I also have a link to a Discord server through there where you can talk to us and fans of my work and stuff like that. So yeah, check it out.
And you can find me at both on Twitter and on TikTok at Galen Wilson. That's at GalenWils0N. I post my hot takes and sometimes videos that I think are funny. You can find me on YouTube at The Only Galen on YouTube. There may or may not be a video coming out sometime soon. Ooh. And you can also find me on Twitch at Machine Gun Vampire. I really do need to stream something one of these days. Honestly, we might be doing a duo stream of, something like To Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes or something like that.
Yeah. Also, I did want to mention, go to youtube.com/user/IEatAtSonic, where I am uploading some videos more frequently now, including Net Surfer Plays, which is us playing video games, as you might expect.
Yes.
And we have been playing the Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl game. It is great. Great time. Some good commentary. So check that out if you want to hear more of us.
Yeah, it's a really fun time. With that, the spooky season does be... Oh, shit. You know what we forgot? We didn't get... Oh, we left the Hot Pockets at the store.
They were pizza rolls, you nerd. Also, I forgot to mention not prawn. See ya!